Hey everybody, it's Izzie, or as you know me, tarotcardsandtea.tumblr.com. And today I wanted to talk to you about getting started on your tarot journey and really how to go about that. These are just a little words of advice from me personally. They are not scripture, they are not gospel. So if anything I say today doesn't resonate with you, feel free to trash it. And that comes to number one on my list of things on how to get started. Number one is just be true to yourself. If there's something out there that you really gravitate towards, that's great. I'm glad you found something that you feel at peace with. If there's something in tarot tradition that just doesn't vibrate with you, don't be afraid to ignore it. There's a lot of superstitions in regards to tarot, some of them involving, you can't purchase your first deck. It has to be a gift or it has to be stolen. And I just think that's a superstition. Because if you don't purchase your deck, how can you be sure that it's something that you're going to connect with and understand and want to build that relationship with? And I just don't condone stealing. Like that's stupid. Another tarot wives' tale is that, you can't read for yourself, or else, bad energy will come get you. And I frankly don't think that's true either. Tarot is a great tool for learning. And it's one where you can really learn a lot more about yourself than you thought otherwise. Another tarot wives' tale is your cards shouldn't be directly placed on a surface, to always have a cloth or scarf laid down. And I don't subscribe to that thinking either. So if there's something out there that just doesn't sit well with you, you don't have to do it. Number two on your tarot journey, I would say is get to know your deck. Whether you read intuitively or whether you read by the book and by the traditional meanings, it's a good idea to get to know any deck that you begin reading with. I personally do this by starting a tarot journal, which sometimes can be a physical book, or it could be as simple as a note in your phone or computer. And what I do is I go through all of the cards, all of the major arcana, all of the minor arcana, and I take note of what imagery is portrayed in that card and intuitively what I think it means and what it means to me. And then I go and I look at the guidebook and sort of see what the author has to say about that deck. And I sort of go ahead and evaluate where my lines of thinking line up with theirs and where they differ. And any alternative meanings to cards. One of the ones that jumps to my mind is, oh my goodness, now I can't remember the name of it. But it's in the Wild Unknown deck, and it is I want to say it's a chalice. It might be I think it's the Six of Chalices. And it's depicted as a tree with a very elaborate root system and sort of a reminder to get back to the basics, go back to your childhood, and see how you can use those lessons now. When that's reversed, by the book meanings usually means that you're being immature and you're not looking at things rightly. But in the context of a relationship reading, to me, that card almost has a connotation of you may be laying your roots in the wrong place. And that isn't listed anywhere in any tarot deck manual or any sort of literature whatsoever. But just that very deliberate, your roots are on top, so this may not be the best decision for you. And sometimes that interpretation works, sometimes it doesn't. So that comes to number three on my list. And that is, don't be afraid to try new things. Sometimes you get this weird gut feeling about a reading and you're like, well, that's really out of the box. I probably don't want to say that. But the worst case scenario is that you're wrong. And hopefully, if you have good clients or friends or whoever you're reading for, they'll tell you, yeah, that didn't quite sit with me. It didn't resonate with me. It didn't make sense to my situation. And that's fine. Don't be afraid to take risks. There's a lot of intuition when it comes to tarot. And, sometimes making that jump is scary. I once had a client who I was doing a reading for, and I believe it was some sort of relationship reading and how to move on from the past. And the cards that came up were a high need for order and things to be perfect and have everything in its neat little box. Not letting go of past pains, and then an inability to open up and connect. And when looking at all of those things separately, you're like, okay, that all makes sense. But I got this gut feeling, and I looked at the cards and I said to myself, that sounds awfully lot like a victim of abuse. So, I reached out to my client and I said, hey, I may be really, really off here. And if I am, I'm sorry. And if I ruffle any feathers by saying this, I want to apologize in advance. But have you been assaulted or abused in the context of a relationship in the past? And they said yes. And if I had been too afraid to open that box, I would not have been able to open that door for that person to really get down and heal, because that opened up a completely different conversation than it would have if I hadn't mentioned it. And I think we're on number 4 now. Yeah, number 4. Number 4 is just have fun. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's your journey, and it's your journey alone. And if you're not enjoying yourself, why are you doing it? So if ever it gets to a point where you just feel like this might not be for you, don't hesitate to put it down for a while. You may find yourself coming back later, and that's fine. If you give it up forever, that's fine too. But just listen to your heart and have fun and just follow your path and your journey. And ultimately, I think that is the most important thing. So really, at the end of the day, just make yourself happy and do what's right for you.